Are you confused what Space Marine 2 is? Well, I'm here to give you an epic breakdown, so buckle in. I'm new to the whole Warhammer franchise. The lore is a whole nother can of worms. You're probably going to get that somewhere else. But here's the gist of what you need to know. The Space Marines are battling an intergalactic war against aliens and supernatural threats. You and two of your battle brothers are big hulking cybernetic men in power suits fighting off hordes of these enemies for the fate of the cosmos. Sounds epic, right? That's not even the half of it. This is basically a horde shooter slash hack and slash game. You're going to be fighting through seemingly endless waves of enemies with your guns and melee weapons of choice. It's very gory, very Doom-like, and it's hard as nails. It's basically the Dark Souls of Dynasty Warrior games, with guns. The core gameplay loop is you get thrown into a mission with two other Space Marines where you have to complete simple objectives as you run through. Easy enough, right? The hard part is that it's easy to get overwhelmed and these enemies seem to melt through your health like butter. This, my friends, is where you gotta get good. You have 5 unique classes that have different playstyles, weapons, and class perks that synergize differently with your team. This is primarily a team-based game, so it's gonna be in your best interest to not run out Rambo style trying to solo these operations. You're gonna have a bad time. Here's how the game works. You get a health bar, of course. Along with your health bar, you have armor bars. 3 of the classes have 3 armor bars, 2 of them only have 2. While in combat, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. This is unavoidable. What can be avoided is your health bar taking hits. The game has a parry mechanic. You're going to want to master this. It makes combat very fun. Once you get swarmed with enemies, they're going to be launching attacks at you from every direction. You're going to want to be actively looking around you and parrying enemies as they attack you. Parrying smaller enemies will restore an armor bar, and parrying the bigger enemies will help you do more damage to them to the point where you can pull off an execution. Executions are these big finisher attacks with sick animations where you just rip your enemy apart. Any execution will restore an armor bar as well. The key of the game is to really get in the paint, doing as much damage and slaying as many enemies as you can while parrying and getting those executions off to maintain your armor bars and keep yourself alive, while also keeping your teammates alive. Executions are vital to survival, but do not get greedy. Your battle brothers need executions too. If you have full armor bars, you're not getting any bonus armor for getting off an execution. So a good strategy after getting an enemy to an executable state is leave him be for a while and go to work on another enemy, because one of your battle brothers might desperately need that execution to survive. There have been plenty of times I've needed to get an execution off, but one of my teammates has been super kill hungry and steals my execution, or just picks off the enemy from afar. I'm looking at you, snipers. This game is an epic power fantasy. Once you get good enough, you're going to be looking in every direction like you just unlocked your Sharingan, parrying every single attack, slamming enemies on the ground, moving like an unstoppable murder machine, killing everything in sight. You're going to be pissed there's no more bugs to squash. There's just the satisfying feeling this game gives you after wiping out a whole wave of enemies hanging on by the skin of your teeth and seeing the blood all over your armor. You feel like a real Space Marine. They call me Super Marine in the trenches, just ask about me. Alright, now content-wise, the campaign is about 10 to 12 hours, and it's co-op so you can play with 2 of your friends. It's a bit more restrictive. It gives you the story of the game, so you're hard locked into one character. The fun part of the game for me comes from the PvE operations mode. Like I said, you get 5 unique classes to level up and fully customize the armor and show off that space drip. I personally think there could be more customization options, but what we have is pretty decent. There are currently 7 PvE operations that run about 30 to 40 minutes to complete each. You can run these through 5 different difficulties. This might be the mode you spend most of your time in with this game. And there's a PvP mode with 3 different game types as well. All future content updates are free. Here's the roadmap. They are planning to add more PvE and PvP content, weapons, enemy types, and even a horde mode. There is a season pass, but that's only going to be for cosmetic items, so it's really optional if you just like the game. This is what we like to see, developers not nickel and diming their player base. The dev team is also very responsive to community feedback. They're actively working on updates. They recently delivered an update making things way too hard that the community absolutely hated, so they rolled things back and even buffed some weapons that people have been asking for. So they definitely have their ears to the streets and are actively working on making the game better. There are still improvements that can be made. Some weapons still feel like pea shooters. I don't think the Board class does enough damage, and a few class perks feel redundant, and the Chaos enemy type does need tweaking. I feel like they're a pain to fight, although that may be by design, who knows. But overall, I think Space Marine 2 is a phenomenal game, and I'm going to be playing it for a while. That's about it. Super Marine Dayshin out.